Hey guys, it's Vanity Ezel back again with another Card Fight Vanguard weekly reveals. So hope you guys enjoyed. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and donate to the Patreon. So let's get this one started. Today, we have reveals from last Tuesday of May 9th to this Tuesday of May 16th. So let's get this started. First up, we've got the Grade 2 from the start deck of Brantgate, Security Patroller. Auto, when this unit is placed on rear, Soul Blast 1 and choose one of your opponent's rear guards and imprison it. So, I like that ability. It makes Brantgate Grade 3 a lot better because for Seraph Snow to get its full effect off, because Seraph Snow was the only other unit that can imprison on both van and rear, you have to ride one of them, call one of them to rear, and then counterblast 2 each turn to constantly imprison 4 and then plus 10k in a drive to itself. The problem is, one, it kept using up counterblast, and you couldn't persona ride as much, and that's mainly what you need to do, because just pumping power on the Vanguard isn't going to do much when they can just PG it, and then they can just guard the other 5k pokes. This way around, because it has an on-play Soul Blast ability, and you get a lot of soul, you can easily just imprison an opponent's rear guard just by being placed, and then counterblast 2 to get rid of another, and then boom, you got 3 right there and then plus 10k in a drive, and that means you can persona ride more. So all around, really helpful card. Next up, we've got Drag Ritter Arvelis, 10k power, 5k shield, grade 2 from Dragon Empire. Auto, when this unit is placed on rear, counterblast 1 and soul blast 1, choose one of your opponent's grade 2 or greater rear guards and retire it. So that's really helpful. It's just an on-place kill an opponent's rear guard, and it's a counterblast 1 and a soul blast 1 for it. So, decent card. Next up, we got Drag Ritter Zafar, 10k power, 5k shield. Auto, when this unit intercepts, soul blast 1, and this unit gets plus 5k shield time of battle. So that's really helpful, especially with the new shield values being stuck at 5 regardless of what grade they are and if they're vanilla or not. That's really helpful, just being into intercept and soul blast 1 to get the 5k shield. All around, really helpful card. Next up, we've got an order from Stoica, and this order is once more meant to help out Alchemagic. You can even tell because there is literally Zorga in the art. The Cursed Soul wriggles in agony. Play this card by Soul Blasting 2, grade 3 order. Look at top 4, choose up to 1 unit card from among them, call it to rear and discard the rest. If this is on Alchemagic, then call it to 2 rear guards instead of 1, and if all units called get plus 5k power to end of turn. So, called from the order. So that's really helpful because it just straight up can give you a guaranteed call, put stuff in a drop, and because this is the Grand Blue build of Stoica, you can easily use Zorga or any other cards they release in the time span to call those units back, while this order will also give plus 5k power to the units that were called by its effect. And if you Alchemagic it with the other grade 3 order, that makes it so that you basically give plus 5k to 2 units and plus 10k to another 3 units. So that means basically 5 units get plus power if you just give them all to different units. So that's really helpful to have. And then for other Stoica, we have Hydraulic Ram Dragon, 13k base, Persona Gift, and Persona Ride. Auto rear when it attacks a Vanguard if you have an order in the bind zone and it gets plus 5k power to end of battle. So obviously that's meant to support Stoica. Not Stoica. It's obviously meant to support Alchemagic because the only way to bind orders right now is by Alchemagic. So getting that plus 5k is helpful. It is better than the Dragon Empire grade 3 where it just says attack, get plus 2k on rear. This is so better because at least this one forces out a 10k guard. Fuck you, random dragon. Speaking of a Dragon Empire, we got a new grade 2 for them as well. 10k base, 5k shield, stealth, rogue of strife, Fudu Maru. Auto rear when an attack hits anything. Discard a card and draw a card. So that's really helpful. You get a free draw. You can discard the random dragon that I was just talking about. You can discard a vanilla. You can discard anything and just get a free draw out of it. So really helpful. And then we've got Dragon Empire's new order. Sunshine Punishment. Awesome name. Beautiful looking card. I have one problem with it, but I'll discuss it once I'm done with the skill. Play it by if you have one or more cards in your damage zone, counterblast 1 in any number of those cards, and choose one of your opponent's rear guards for each counterblast paid. And if you do, retire it. So that's good. It can easily just wipe out an entire board in one go. But my problem with this is, currently, and I know they're going to change this with reveals, and hopefully they give us a damn counter charger for Dragon Empire, or Soul Charger. I'll take either one of the two right now. My problem with this is that to use it, you got to pay Counterblast. And Nirvana's only way of getting power besides Persona Writing is straight up just Counterblasting 1 to get plus 10k to itself in any overdressed units. So, in theory, that sounds good, but when like everything else can Persona Write and get multiple attacks or get more power out of it, it's kind of outdone, and the only way for it to actually be able to do anything is to use up those Counterblast. And using Sunshine Punishment, while it is a good card to get rid of an opponent's rear guard, in a Nirvana-based deck, it kind of feels useless, or it feels like it takes up more Counterblast, meaning you have to kill your opponent quickly until they give us a Countercharger. But either way, it's still a good card regardless. It just needs the Countercharger to become perfect. And on to promos. So this one is from Dimension Police. For the record, this is probably not its real name. I say probably because I literally just Google translated the image, and this is the name I got from it. So hopefully part of it's right and part of it's probably wrong, and I have my assumption of which part is right and which part is wrong. Toxic Monster Gel Sludge. 9k base, 5k shield, grade 2 from Dimension Police. Auto when this unit is placed on Van or Rear, if your opponent's Vanguard's a grade 2 or greater, Soul Blast 1, and perform one of the following effects below. If it is a grade 3 or greater, perform all effects below instead. Your opponent may Counterblast 1 if they do not use Draw, and your opponent may Soul Blast 1, and if they do not choose one of your opponent's Vanguards, and it loses 5k power to end of turn. So that's really good. It's basically Zeal support. Yes, you have to Soul Blast for it, but at the same time, you Soul Charge a lot in Zeal. You have plenty of Soul. There is no reason to not use this. And it forces out your opponent to either Counterblast, or you get to plus off it, or they have to Soul Blast, and if they don't, they lose 5k. So either way, they're losing some form of a resource, or they're giving you resources, and or they're losing their own power. So all around, really hopeful grade 2 to support Zeal, and it looks really cool. Next up, we got another card that I Google translated the image of. This time for Royal Paladin, Knight of Righteousness Rebel. 10k power, 5k shield, continuous front row rear guard. All of your front row rear guards cannot be retired by your opponent's card effects. And auto when this unit is placed on rear during your main phase. Counterblast will only put a grade 2 rear guard on the bottom of your deck. If you do, draw 2 and choose a card from hand and call it to board. So that's really helpful. It prevents your front row from being murdered by effects. So the only way they're going to get rid of them is to just straight up ram into them, and that's really helpful. While also, it's an all-mount support card because, it pays Counterblast. It can send grade 2s back to deck, which means you can search for them again and just use their on-place abilities like Leave a Row, and you get a free draw 2 out of it, and you can call down more units. All around, really helpful card and really cool-looking card. Next up, we've got Blazing Spear Dragon with 10k power, 5k shield, Dragon Empire grade 2. Auto when this unit's placed on rear. If your opponent has no rear guards in the same column as it, Counterblast 1 and it gets plus 10k power to end of turn. So I really like that, like I said from earlier with the order, because basically Dragon Empire's only way of winning right now until they reveal the next grade 3 for Dragon Empire, which is going to happen next week and hopefully it involves retiring, is basically Nirvana, and it focuses solely on Verena having to just rush down with power, so retiring isn't really a main factor. So I would say all the Dragon Empire cards I revealed this time around, except for Fudumaru, I suggest that, don't put them in your Verena deck. You may want to put the 5k shield guy if you can find the soul for him. But all around, when they revealed that next grade 3 that I hope retires for the life of me, it will probably be worth it. But that's still a really good card nonetheless because it's a 20k attacker during the turn it's called. Next up, we got Direful Doll Violetta. 10k power, 5k shield, act soul. If you have 10 or more soul cards, Counterblast 1 and call it to rear. That's just straight up helpful. Dark State just got a new soul charging build, and that's pretty much the build that we're talking about today, and that's a free card just to call to rear as you're constantly soul charging. So really nice. Then we've got Rapid Charger, 8k base, 5k shield, auto rear when the attack it boosted hits, doesn't have to hit a Vanguard, you may soul charge 1. So that's really helpful. My only problem with this is it's a Brant Gate card that does this. Why couldn't they give this to Kagero? They know how much Dragon Empire. They know how much Dragon Empire is struggling with soul right now thanks to Verena if you want to just get the retire off from it. Because right now, the only way to get a retire is to either Counterblast for it, which Nirvana needs Counterblast to even force out power, or to Soul Blast for it, and Verena needs it for X skill. So either way, you're kind of in a bad situation. But either way, this is still a good card. It's just, I hope the new Brant Gate build, which looks like Chaos, I know it ain't Chaos, but I really hope it does something similar to Chaos, needs the soul charging, because otherwise, this is not needed in, Seraph Snow builds, because they get enough soul already. So this is not really needed there, but hopefully it's needed for the next set. Then we've got Prescription Angel, AK base, 5k shield from Cater, grade 1. Auto rear, when your Vanguard is attacked, counterboss 1 and retire this unit. Choose a face-up card in damage zone, call it to guard, and it put the top card of your deck into damage zone face up. I love that. That is, hands down, my favorite unit out of all of the reveals so far in terms of just straight-up ability. Looks, it's beat by something else. But in terms of straight-up ability, this is my favorite. Because with the new PG rulings where as long as it's placed on guard circle, if you have less than 2 cards in hand, then you don't have to discard. That's really helpful. Say you go all out guarding your opponent's turn and you have nothing left in hand and they still got 1 attack left. They attack. You have a PG and face up and damage. Use this thing skill. Counterboss something that isn't that PG. Call down the PG, take damage. You don't get a damage trigger, unfortunately, but you still survive because of the PG skill. And I just really like this card. So, really good grade 1 and my favorite card in terms of abilities. Next up, we got Swell Assault for Stoica grade 1. AK base, 5k shield as usual. Auto rear, when the attack is boosted, hits a Vanguard. If it's a third battle that turn exactly, not or more, but exactly the third battle, retire it and countercharge 1. So, that's good. I don't really think it belongs in a Sylvan King build because, yeah, during the first grade 3 turn, that would be helpful, but during the second grade 3 turn, you're mostly focusing on just hitting for 6 attacks in a turn. So having this, since it has to boost, isn't really a good card. But in terms of like Alchemagic support wise, it's good because they do use up a lot of counter blasts, so you can at least give them a free counter charge with it. It's a really good card. And now on to our main set of reveals. We've got the Dark States new grade 3. Starting off with the just ride line, because that's what they're calling it. Uncanny Burning being the grade 0, 6k base, and it's a standard starter where when it's rode upon, you get if you went second, you get to draw. So, it just looks cool, and I actually like them, so let's go. Next up, we've got Deep Sonicer for grade 1, 8k base, 5k shield. Auto, when this unit's placed on Van Soul, charge 1 and during your turn, continuous, rear guard. If you have 10 or more cards in Soul, this unit gets plus 10k power. So I really like that. It's bringing back the Dark Irregulars feel of Dark States, and honestly, Dark Irregulars tied with... Dark Irregulars is straight up my favorite Dark Zone deck in all time. So I really like that they're bringing that back. And the 10k power, that's really hopeful because you would never get that power in Standard or Premium straight up by one single ability where you get plus 10k if you have 10 or more cards in Soul. There may have been like a handful of cards that let you, but it was like kind of more or less soul stacking. Like for every certain number of cards in Soul, it gets power, which means it can potentially come better than this. But that's just straight up, you get 10 more cards in Soul, plus 10k power. You can easily get plus 10k power on your first grade 3 turn with this deck. That's just really helpful because you got the Order for Brother Soul, you got a bunch of other soul charging cards from the start deck, and they're definitely going to give us more reveals for this deck. So obviously, just get more soul charging. It's a really helpful card. I also just like his art. Next up, we got Electro Spartan, 10k power, 5k shield, grade 2. Auto, when this unit is rode upon by Master of Gravity Beromagnes, put a card from hand into Soul and draw a card and Soul charge 1. And Auto, when this unit is placed on rear guard, counterblast 1 and Soul charge 2. That's just all around a good ability, because first off, for his first ability to go off, you have to do the ride line, which means in Premium, unless you draw into him, you're not going to be able to do it. But here, with the ride deck, you can easily do that, and that's a free 2 Soul just by riding. Like, say, for example, you're actually doing the ride deck. You ride this thing, skill, Soul charge 1. With the starter and Soul, that's 2 cards in Soul. When you ride, you're at 3 cards. Then, when you ride next turn, you get to draw, which puts you 4, by the way. You get to draw and put something in Soul and then Soul charge more, which means you're at 6 Soul. Combo with, like, a Order, and it puts you to 8 Soul. Combo with anything else like in Soul charge, and you go to 10. Really easy card to use off. So, amazing thing, and you can place it on rear to get the free Soul charge too. So that's really easy just to get 10 Soul in the first grade 3 turn. And you only have to do 1 counterblast for it. It's all around really helpful card. Next up, we've got the new grade 3, and one of my 2 favorite cards in terms of like art-wise in this whole entire thing. Persistent Angel has the ability, but in terms of art-wise, this and the next grade 3 that we talk about are tied. Master of Gravity Beromagnes, 13k base, Persona Ride, Twin Drive, Auto Van, grade 3 by the way, when this unit attacks a van, or just attacks in general, counterblast 1 and perform all the following effects according to the number of cards in Soul. 5 or more. You are guaranteed that. No matter what, as long as you're doing the ride deck, you are guaranteed to hit 5 or more Soul. Draw a card. 10 or more. Like I said, you can get it on first grade 3 turn with only one counter boss. This unit gets plus 10k power and plus 1 crit till end of battle. And 15 or more, both you and your opponent put all their rear guards into soul and choose up to 2 cards from your soul, call in the rear, and those unit gets plus 10k power to end of turn. So that's really helpful. You can call down, well, first off, you can get the draw power, putting it to like 23k with double crit, and if you Persona Rogue, 33k with double crit, forcing out most likely a PG, while also getting rid of your opponent's board. With the 5ks that we now have, that is so good if you're using it, because you can easily wipe out their board when they guard. Now they have to think, okay, even if I do survive this, what am I going to do on my next turn? Because now I have more things that I have to call out to actually be able to fill up my board again. It's just all around a really good card, and then you get to call out 2 units per plus 10k. You can call out this thing, and because it doesn't have to be placed from hand to Soul Charge 2, you can counterboss 1 to get the Soul Charges back that you just lost, while also using this card to get plus 10k power if your soul has 10 or more cards. And if you call them to different columns, this is a 28k right here, and this is a 20k. And if you're Persona Rogue, 38 and 30. So either way, really helpful ability. Amazing card. And next up, we've got the Cater Sanctuary cards. This pretty much is basically Magus. It is, well, okay, it's more like Magus from Oracle Think Tank, to be more exact. So Tri-Connect Sorceress, so 6k base, 5k shield. The standard when it's rode upon, if you went second, you get to draw. And yeah, pretty much that's all I can say for the starter. Grade 1, Tier Square Sorceress. 8k base, 5k shield. Auto when this unit's rode upon by a Pentagleam Sorceress. Counterboss 1 to draw. And auto rear guard once per turn when your drive check reveals a trigger unit. Counterboss 1, choose one of your opponent's front or rear guards and put it to the bottom of their deck. I like that. That is a straight up amazing ability. Doesn't beat Prescription Angel for me, but that's straight up good. First up, you get the draw, counterblasting. It has to be rolled by a specific unit. Not necessarily my favorite, especially because if you decide to play this deck in premium, both the grade 1 and the grade 2, they have to be ridden by the card in the next grade by them, which means if you don't have them, you don't really get to, plus off it entirely, which means you kind of miss part of the chain. So the counterboss want to draw if you ride upon a certain thing. It's still good, but it's kind of like a worse Circle Magus. But that other ability, when your drive check reveals a trigger, which you can do because this deck literally can stack triggers at the top of the deck, counterblast, you pick something and you put it to bottom. I love that, because if you put it to drop, even if if they're playing like Stoica or anything that can call from drop, they can easily just get it back by paying a certain cost. If you bounce it, you're not really doing much. If you put it to their top, you're also not doing much. If you put it to soul, in the case of this, if you're fighting against this or something else and call from soul, you're not really doing anything. But the deck card, putting it at the bottom, that is so much better than anything else, because the only decks that can possibly stop that currently, and just in general, Nirvana with the ride deck, where if you ride the Nirvana on top of the grade 2, you can Soul Blast 1 to search your deck for Verena, which will let you shuffle the deck, or Gear Chronicle, because Gear Chronicle could search the deck for grade higher units and then just call them to board. Otherwise, the only way you're getting those units back is if you shuffle them and hope for the best that they end up on top. So that's a really good ability, and just my personal opinion, that gets rid of a unit and makes it really difficult to get it back. Next up, we've got Pentagleam Sorceress. 10k power, 5k shield. Auto when this unit's rotobombed by a Hexaorb Sorceress. Look at top 3 from the top of your deck and put them at the top of the order in any order you shall wish. And auto when this unit's placed on rear. Look at the top card, put it at top or bottom, and if you put it on the bottom, it gets +2. So it's good. You can effectively stack triggers and just gives you a free plus. Like say, for example, you look at top 3, you see 2 triggers and 1 normal unit, and you have another copy of this in hand. You can just put the normal unit on top, call this, put the normal unit on the bottom, and you get a free +2, and then you're guaranteed to drive check triggers. Also, this could actually help out in the Bastion build of Cater Sanctuary, because it can stack the top card. If you see a grade 3, you can, just guarantee that you drive check a grade 3 to get a free stand out of it. It's all around a really helpful card for both current Cater Sanctuary builds. And next up, we have the final card in terms of reveal, and the second card that is comparison of art between this and Beromagnes. Hexaorb Sorceress. 13k base. Persona Ride. Almost said gift again. Grade 3. Amazing art, by the way. Auto Van. When your drive check reveals a trigger unit, choose one of your rear guards. Gives +10. Straight up. best ability ever, in my personal opinion. I love this. Magus, they had what they were going on before, but it was only to where the unit that has the ability gets plus 5k. And the only units that could do that was Hexagonal Magus and Rectangle Magus. Pentagonal could give the triggers plus 5, but it only gives it to the triggers. This guarantees you get 2 trigger splits, most likely, because either your drive check reveals 1 trigger and 1 unit gets plus 20, which is automatically better than anything the original Oracle Think Tank could pull off, or you can split the 10Ks between 2 different units. So it's really good just to have that ability unlock and guarantee your, triggers and your units get hits. And with a Persona Ride, that's like plus 20 to anything that the trigger goes to, plus 30 actually, because if you put them on the same unit. And then Act Van, once per turn, if you Persona Road this turn, Counterblast 1 and Soul Blast 1 reveal up to 1 critical trigger or front trigger from your hand, put it at the top, and it gets plus 1 drive till end of turn. All around, helpful ability, just straight up. Yes, you have to Persona Ride for it. Yes, you have to Counterblast 1 and Soul Blast 1 for it. But 1, this deck does not Counterblast or Soul Blast 1, whatever so far, and even so, you can just take the cards from the starter deck and mix it in with this, even though that wouldn't necessarily be the best idea. But you get a free critical trigger out of it. You get a free front trigger out of it. And it gets plus 1 drive. That's all around helpful because no matter what, if you get a trigger out of it, let's say it's a front. You drive check a front. Whole front row gets plus 10. Then skill. You give one of your other 2 rear guards plus 10 from it, making it plus 20 to a 1 attacker, and then everything else also got plus 10. If you're on Persona Ride, 1 trigger just gave 1 unit plus 30. All around, that's really helpful, and in terms of skill-wise, it's barely under Prescription Angel for me. And those are the reveals for this week. So I hope you guys enjoyed. What was your favorite builds? Because honestly, I'm kind of leaning towards both, actually, of the new builds with their abilities to be able to stack cards at the top of the deck and the soul charging. And next week we get we get Dragon Empire with their new Grade 3 that I completely forgot the name of, but hopefully it focuses on retiring to give Dragon Empire back the retiring factor, besides just the Grade 2s and less doing all the work. And we also get the Brant Gate build, which looks like Chaos. I know it's not Chaos, but I hope it's like Chaos. Hope you guys enjoyed. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, donate to the Patreon. My second channel is in the link in the description below, so you can go subscribe to that. I have a Discord, so you can go join that. And I also have a Twitch page, which you can go follow that. And don't forget to stand up your vanguards.